Hello together and welcome to the second episode of the AI Boardroom. Svetlana, I'm happy that you're here. So
Lucky that I'm here.
yeah, I'm also lucky you're here, honestly.
No, it's awesome. Looking forward to this episode. I think where we're going to be diving into the large language models and what they can do for businesses and how businesses are, leveraging them right now to kind of capture some of that business value.
Basically, do not ask what you can do for AI. Ask what AI can do for you, right?
Well put.
Okay. Today's title, we have to come up with better titles, but it's basically the goal of the episode is that after this hour you will be a lot more able and capable to think about what you actually can do with the new AI stuff that's flowing around everywhere. And that's what we're aiming for.
And something
So
just
Dana.
to set this... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted you to do exactly what you wanted to do. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I wanted to kind of maybe start off with is just kind of lay it out there. A lot of hype has been in the market, in the media about AI. And anytime that you open up an article or anything like that, ads, when they say AI, typically, I think in the reality of today's day and age is that they usually talk about large language models, chatbots. And so one thing that I want you to make clear that AI is not only large language models, but, because of the attention it's getting, there's an assumption that, all AI can do is these chatbots. But it's only a small portion of kind of what value you could capture with AI, so which we'll dive in over the course of different episodes. But large language models are definitely, I would consider them low-hanging fruits in the business. You could take off the shelf, you could build, some versions of your own kind of a chatbot and bring it into your business. But to me, it's a no-brainer. And I think that's why I think a lot of people are kind of grabbing onto that title that all LLMs are, or basically all AI is large language models, because of how broadly and how widely adopted they're becoming. What are your thoughts on that, Edgar?
I think you said something really important. Like low-hanging fruit is basically how I started this whole journey, thinking about business application. I was thinking about what is the quickest win to get from this. And another thing you said, which is really important, is general purpose. I don't have to train the model necessarily. Might be a good option, but it's an option and not a must, as it was before. And I think it's all coming down to the huge data sets the stuff is trained with. But the general usability is off the charts, and nothing we've ever seen before. That said, I always encounter this when I demo or talk to people. You always have this chatbot interface, and it basically looks as it always looked. But I didn't, and I tried, but I didn't yet come up with a better way of interfacing with the AI.
You mean for to be able to interact with AI?
Yeah, because you need an interface of some sort.
Yes.
And you have voice, you have video, you have text. Like a lot of interfaces are thinkable of in terms of how to deliver information. But I always find myself coming back to chat because it's the most natural at the moment, at least for the generation that's working with computers right now. Because for me, even I'm really a geek and I really like all things technical. And it's still to this day, for me, it's not natural to speak to my computer like I would speak to a person. And that makes it basically makes me basically always fall back to the chat because, we don't talk yet confidently to computers.
Well, you think if you think about, I think it's just an evolution. There's always going to be something that is kind of in the middle of kind of like that interim period where things are still uncomfortable because they're new. But I do think that chatbots, if you kind of step back and look at the situation, the way that we used to converse with these, Googles of the world and everything like is really unnatural. You're starting a one-sided conversation and you don't really get feedback other than clicking some resources. Now you're really kind of with these chatbot functionalities, you're really are trying to mimic that natural conversation that happens between humans, and why I think this is so game changing. Because you can pose a question and then you can build on it and you can get clarifying topics. This is unlike, you getting education from a teacher, right? You raise your hand and you ask the question. You and I are talking here, where it's not me speaking at you, it's us kind of speaking together and building on certain topics. So I think that's really important. I do think that that's going to become more and more evolved as we kind of speak, but I think that's really why people are leaning towards this experience, because of this interactive kind of feedback that you get by chatting with these chatbots.
Yeah, definitely. I think multimodality is something that really will make huge leaps this year. I have a feeling it already, like I can install open source models on my computer. They're not even that big that can like read pictures or like look at pictures and say what's on it. So
can you define what maybe for our audience what multimodal is?
So multimodality. To be honest, I had to Google it myself back then. A modality is basically a type or form of input. So if you have a modality like text in a chatbot, and you type in text and you get text back, then text is your own only modality. And it's oftentimes was like back in the days, it's the only modality the AI is trained on. So it only is trained to read text and only trained to give text back. Truly multimodal models are able to basically take in raw audio or raw pictures and then like look at it basically. So it's not like we did with object recognition and stuff like that, pattern recognition. It is pattern recognition, but in the end, it's basically a true understanding of the content you're presented. And the magic is, if you have a true multimodal AI, you can give in a picture, and it gives you back text, which is obvious. But you could also give in a picture and get back audio, and that's where it really starts to get interesting, because like AI is kind of only text at the moment, even if they say it's multimodal. Because if you talk into ChatGPT in the app, you can use your voice, and it can answer you in voice. But it takes your voice, translates it to text, and then like processes it and gives you text back, and reprocesses it to give you voice back. And that's important because you lose so much information. What's the tone? What's the emotion in the voice? Was it loud? Was he barely speaking? Stuff like that. So, and that's where it gets interesting. So as soon as we are truly multimodal, we can take the audio, and not only the text information in the audio, but also everything around it, which are factors that are like really important to speech, and take them and analyze them, and also give like audio in that form back.
So the current state of AI, you're basically saying it's not truly, by definition, multimodal. They're converting input, whatever it is, whatever object, whether it's voice, whether it's an image that it converts it into some text format, maybe a description of what you're looking at. And it's still the large language model, which is text-based, that is processing that information and then basically outputting it in whatever preferred format you have. So in the way you're kind of describing it is that kind of, so it's not truly multimodal then.
Yeah. Where we already have reached like true multimodality is with images. So if you upload an image to ChatGPT and he analyzes it, it's really going through the model, at least with GPT-4. But for example, if you have video, it's not. If you have video, it just takes the video, makes a sequence of screenshots, puts them all together, and then processes it. which also works pretty well. So it's still able to interpret the motion, the movement in the series of pictures, because a video is nothing else than a series of pictures. But it's not reading really. It's not really reading the video, including the audio and stuff like that. So you still have to transcribe the audio. Like, I don't want to get too technical in this, but just that, like, multimodal with real modality for waveforms, like what's the basis of audio, that's a tricky thing to do. There's a lot of stuff, because you can say like 50 times the same word and you have 50 different waveforms, and it's really interesting. It's another topic, and this one I think will still take a bit of time.
Well, and I think you haven't said this before, but you've spent a lot of time kind of in video production and directing. So you understand voice and video really, really well. So it comes from an area of expertise, and this is why I think it's such a, maybe even a passionate topic. And I think where voice is also becoming important is chatbots, to support customer service, right? Yeah. So if you are speaking to an agent, and let's say even behind the scenes it's powered by a generative AI, and then as you said, like, you could speak to it and then it's going to return voice back. If you're not really picking in those nuances in the voice, then you're kind of really missing the frustrations people are having, right? Or the urgency of the request. Maybe they're speaking really quick and they need to get things done, and you have to kind of, us as humans, pick up on those unsaid kind of traits in our voice, but it's really hard to do that if all you're doing is converting voice to text.
Mm-hmm. So, but like today's podcast should also like deal with how can I use it for my business. And for example, if you have customer support, you can like twofold it, because there are AIs and they're pretty good that can take basically any modality and read the emotions from it. Like, they are trained to interpret the emotions in the waveform, like in the real audio, and you can combine that with the transcription. So you then can build a solution which uses like the transcription functionalities to get the text itself, and can then also give the LLM, because we are like processing language again, but you build up a context and you build up a prompt basically, and in this prompt you can then put the transcription and you can put the emotions, and then the prompt can give you an adequate response to that. I'm not sure if it's all. I'm not sure, but I'm confident that you could do this like the other way around too, so that you can generate voice that's angry or something.
The sales representative or whatever, the customer service agent screaming back at the complaining.
Like, just to feel natural, right?
Oh, that's funny.
No, but in all honesty, like, that's how you have to think about the stuff right now. Is if you build solutions, how can you extract information from the context you have, like from the reality you have, basically, transform it into the right text information, and then let the LLM give the right text answer, and then see how you can go from there. And that's basically what every AI solution out there is doing. That's basically what they do. Like, they take the information, make text from it, get text back, and see what they can do from there. That's why I find it kind of impressive that Microsoft is able to take an Excel file and do a PowerPoint from that and then their Copilot. But at least that's what they sell. Didn't try it yet. Because, everything you get is text, and from that you have to work with it. So,
yeah, and so I think that's interesting. I think we jumped in to the content, a little bit deeper without kind of. I want to say I would love for us to maybe take a minute to address, like, why should business leaders really care about this technology, and what can it truly do for your business? So I think understanding kind of the use cases, I think, are great, but what does this technology really do? Like, why can't I just continue working at the same kind of under the same business and operating models that I currently have? What's changing in your perspective with, like, what's the huge benefit that these AI systems really bring, and why should these business leaders care?
As far as I I'm concerned, I'm always look at it in two different categories. The one category is I have a running business, which, for example, has a lot of support, which binds a lot of resources. And there I can go in, step in, and improve on my existing processes. That's like the one category. Like, take your existing business model and see where you can be more efficient, more cost efficient, save costs, or maybe generate more revenue through better content, stuff like that. That's on the one side. The other side is companies that are really taking that opportunity to improve on their product or to even ship a new product based upon their existing field they are operating in. And that's where it gets interesting for everyone to really dive deep, because if you're going that route, like the requirements and the effort you have to put in are a lot higher, of course, because one example would be BI, business intelligence companies that they like produce graphs from data basically, and give you reports, and being able to maybe not only give you the report but also give you suggestions by like using AI to how to interpret this. I even say, or like my feeling is, we will get to a point where business intelligence solutions won't show graphs anymore. Because why do you look at graphs? Is to get a visualization of the data. Why do you want a visualization of the data? You want this because you want to be able to extract information quickly at a glance. And if I have a language-based solution which just tells me what the outcome is, and then
why do I need to look?
Still optionally can look at the graph, but I don't have to because I just get the answer that I'm searching for. Why the graph? So I think that's the direction where this might go. But this would be an example where you like transform your existing business model and take it a step further using AI.
That's interesting. You said something that I didn't really think about much, but yeah, I think it's that interim step, right, that we've kind of talked about. Is what's you looking at graphs and the way that we kind of do business or operate our businesses right now. We just kind of have come to. Again, there's an evolution of ourselves. Before, if you think about like those graphs, we were doing them by hand. I remember even, when we were in school, drawing all of these like dots, and then all you're trying to do is you're trying to make sense of the data, right? So you have all of these points that you kind of have to represent on the graph to understand trends. Well, we were able to do that with rule-based systems. Now AI can take it a step further. Why do you even have to look at the graphs? Because again, the premise behind them and the goal we were hoping to achieve from those graphs is just basically get the insight so I can make a decision based on this data. Well, what if could you bypass that graphing step to get from the problem that you have a bunch of data, to some insights about that data that it's enough for you to make a decision. And I think that's really key. So, and as supportive, maybe in support of those kind of insights, maybe looking at some graphs, but that becomes optional. And I think that's truly impactful. But you said something else, and I just want to highlight, because I think it comes down to, why businesses should care. It really is, the goal of any organization is to drive kind of their top line performance. And there's two ways that organizations really are successful. And I think you kind of touched on both, as how do we continue to drive more value for the organization by increasing profits? So what could we do more of? What kind of offers can we provide or services to our customers to drive more business? And then how do we reduce and do that at a lower operational cost, right? So it's profits minus costs equals, better value delivered and top line performance. And I think AI can do both. It can help with, better product recommendations, better user experience that drive more customers to do more business with you. But then, as you mentioned, it could do tasks that we've just kind of gotten so accustomed to that it could streamline a lot of like documentation reviews and other things. So, and then if you free up people from reading documents to relying on AI to help you kind of do that for you and derive those insights, you've saved like hours. And what if you multiply that by a workforce of, let's say, 100? Just check how much, I mean, just look at the numbers and look how much efficiency that's
Yeah.
gaining. Now those people are freed up to do more of stuff, let's say, to drive more customers to your business. So
Yeah.
it's a virtuous cycle.
And one thing I also wanted to point out is it was in every, I mean, really every transformation. If you have broken processes, AI won't fix it. And also, you have to sometimes rethink a process because, like, of course, like your whole organization was putting out graphs in your BI solution, but that was only the necessary tool for representation of data because you hadn't anything else. So now you have to rethink that and see, do we still need that tooling we needed before to achieve what our value proposition is? And have to really ask yourself, because if you just throw AI at an existing process and like, it might not deliver value, it might even clash, and that's a big risk. So yeah, like always, think about what you're doing. Basically. Yeah.
Well, it's going back to the core. Like, why the heck are you using this tool, right? All solutions are built to solve specific problems. So, what problem is this software or this process solving for you? So maybe it's to, I don't know, to get insights to make better decisions, right? So right now, again, as we just kind of talked about, using some of these, analytical tools or maybe data representation tools to be able to display a lot of this busy data so that I, as a user, can get those insights basically quickly. But in my experience, I mean, even building dashboards, right? There's usually a person behind the scenes interpreting all of these graphics and then making connections and all of that. So there's a human behind that. So what if you could streamline that graphing and insights tasks, and then you're basically are freeing up that person to do something else, and maybe they're the ones who are preparing these reports, those thorough reports, and coming to you with those insights to say, based on our analysis, these are the the options that we derived from the data. What do you think?
Yeah. And I think that's a lot more straightforward because then you can also have a conversation on the data, right? So you can just you not only get an interpretation of the data without even looking at it. You also get the option to talk to the AI to see why it comes to that conclusion, which might lead to even better results because you can have an active discussion. And yeah, that's. I think we are also, just to be completely honest, it's really hard to get this reliably working. Through a whole bunch of different use cases. So there has to be work put in. You have to then, if you go to that route, like that deep, you have to really think about the cutting edge the technology has to offer. But in the end, it's like always, we have a new tooling and we have to become better using it. So.
Yeah, and I think you said something else that I want to touch on, because I think it's treat AI. So when you evaluate your processes, it's not about adding another tool. It's how do you either augment existing tools or looking to replace, because it's not about, adding more point solutions to support your workforce, but how can you maybe even eliminate some? What can this tool now offer? What problem can it solve now that maybe previous tools are now redundant? And so I think that's part of maybe that evaluation process that you have to do, because it's not about accessing 5 different tools to solve that problem, but could you do all of those 5 tasks with one?
Right. Yeah. And from I've done a lot of customer software, like business software, to optimize business processes through the last 13 years because that was my job basically. And we had this over and over and over again, that people were just trying to put their old processes on the new software, on the new on the new software tooling, which should improve their daily business, and still they try to just copy what already worked. And I get this. We humans are like this, and we're really trying to stick to our known bads rather than taking the risk for a better good. An unknown good, sorry. Yeah,
And I think
that's something every executive has to keep in mind for that. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think what you're kind of saying is really gold, and I think it's resonating with me also. Is that, you know, we like being comfortable, we like to strive a balance, and I think when organizations are established, and I think step number one is recognizing that you have a problem, so you can address it. But ultimately, it takes, you know, all of the organizations are born from somewhere, right? They started with small, you know, 5 people teams, and then they've grown out to be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of employees. Well, in order to operate at that level, you kind of have to put frameworks and things in mind to keep things stable on the ground, right? So you just kind of have established ways of working. You have tools that you standardize across. And so change is hard. And I feel like that's also something that organizations consider. So sometimes, yes, change is hard, but starting maybe small and really kind of testing to see, is there an ROI? Is there a benefit to my business, maybe at small scale? Because if you multiply that by the number of employees you could expand this to,
Yeah.
I mean, the benefits are explosive. So,
Yeah, and also I like now started hiring people for my company, young people, unskilled people. It just because I love to like work with people and see them develop, and I'm the one helping them do that. Like, it just satisfies me. But I'm also really look forward to give them the tooling, the AI-based tooling to do their work, and I'm really curious to see, and I will definitely on that podcast will give some reports on that, how it helps them to be more efficient and like be able to do things they weren't able to do the day before. Like, I don't know if I should tell this here, but like every year there is a challenge called Advent of Code, and Advent of Code is basically you have like a calendar, and every day you get a new challenge, a coding challenge. And I did it like in 2022. I did it the first time, and I was like, "Oh, that's nice. I learned a lot. Let's try this again next year." And this year I just said, "Okay, I'll try a new language, and I'm going to use AI for that." But I didn't use AI like you would think of it, like hand in the problem and try to get a solution. I was giving it the solution I wanted, but in a new language. I wanted to learn the new language, and it wasn't even a big language with a lot of resources. It was like a niche language, and I was able to learn that language in a day because I got like at first I got like the code for and the solution was what I suggested the solution should be. So I thought about the solution myself. And then the next step was I tried to understand the code, because that's necessarily what you have to do if you want to learn a new coding language, is to be able to understand the syntax and the concepts behind it. And the AI was just able to explain everything in the detail I wanted it to. So I was able to learn in a day a completely new programming language, which was not even like concept-wise near what I'm used to use. And it was awesome. Like, it was like for someone like me who's always thought about educating people, it was I was in awe, like, really.
but it truly resembles like an active learning type of style. It's like the question answer, and again, and I think this is why I think it's AI is game changing, is because it keeps the conversation relevant to you. So instead of you reading, and the problem that I have with reading books and courses, I just like want to know a specific thing. Just tell me which page it is on so I can get my answer, you know? So I don't have to read the entire book to get to that. But AI is able to keep that relevance and like not waste your time going through the background of knowledge. You have a specific question and you ask it, like, explain to me this. And like it stays on task and it stays on topic instead of, you know, kind of taking you down the rabbit holes of the history of this language is this. And things you need to understand before it like gives you what you want to know.
Yeah, and that's also how you could, I think, leverage the stuff in your business, like create documents and upload them to the AI, like we talked last time, and we will also have another episode how you'll do this, like safe and privacy within your company. There are definitely ways to do that, but just like have the option to set up just a lot of data, which the language model could have a look at, to then train new people, train staff, train maybe just reskill or upskill your existing workers with processes they just didn't know yet, and you haven't had time to assign someone to teach them. So there's definitely some room for that.
So you're basically referring to like upskilling workers in, or even training, or like maybe onboarding.
Yeah.
You could take it as far as onboarding. Yeah.
Yeah, if you see what I've experienced, I had my personal teacher. He was explaining exactly what I needed to know, and giving me all the explanations that I wanted to know to understand the concept. So if I take it a step further and give the AI a bit more autonomy to have like some goal in how to teach people, you're already there, that you can give the AI content, which just can read, and then try to repurpose it to teach someone that same content. I think it's a huge opportunity here for every business.
And I think that you said something that is maybe important to emphasize a little bit. So it's not about just you or the employee driving the conversation and then figuring out, oh, well, I'm expected to know what I need to be asking the system, but you could actually set goals. There's a way to say, based on this conversation, of what this employee or whoever needs to know, here are the goals for this conversation. So be able to make sure that you touch on all of these things, but guide the user at their own pace through those conversations. So if they have specific questions about a specific topic, they can linger on that topic for as long as they need to get those topics right. But the model understands that it's one of 10 objectives that you've set for it, so it knows to move on to other topics. So there's some instructions that you can give it on top of.
You could even think about how to check if the goals are reached. Like give the model tools to use to check stuff. And also, what I wanted to say, I think you said you can make it achieve goals at their own pace, or like learn at their own pace. And it's not only at their own pace, but also in the language they understand. So if I say, okay, I don't get the explanation the way you you are giving it to me, maybe just switch the explanation up a bit. And the LLM is totally capable to do it today. Because like different people learn differently, but we have standard curricula for like ever, and now you can go ahead, have goals and topics which you want to teach, like content you want to teach, and everyone can get its own curriculum. It's a huge opportunity.
So education is within organization is key, and I think, again, bringing it back to operational costs and everything like that. So think about time it takes to onboard these individuals, and like scheduling, and then allocating people to to be able to be available to answer those questions. You could streamline a lot of that. And guess what? Once they complete the onboarding training, you could still give them access to the same tools. So if they have questions weeks from now, they have access. So they're not bothering HR or trainers for that. That's their proprietary, or basically their own personal assistant for onboarding. They can go back and ask questions anytime.
Yeah, and that's basically also what the big win is. You don't have to then, like, for example, you've learned something else came in between. The person couldn't work on that topic, and then he basically forgot everything. Like, it doesn't even have to be a year later, like a month later. And then you can go ahead and say, yeah, no problem. Your teacher is always there. He can always teach you again. And that's also where, like, to just repeat the voice example from the beginning of the episode, that like understanding voice and the emotions in the voice in a teaching situation would be really valuable.
So I know, and I know we've been touching on like a lot of kind of productivity topics and like graphics and, just training, but something that I think a lot of organizations do is also creative in nature. So marketing, kind of websites, search engine marketing and search engine optimization. So what are your thoughts on how does LLM kind of start to deliver some of that value, like help workers in succeeding or doing more or optimizing their processes? What are your, I mean, kind of high level question, but what are your thoughts on the creative aspects of these large language models?
So my take on this always was something that's really deeply rooted inside me, and that's I am furious how much human brain we waste on mundane, repetitive tasks, and we all do. Like, think about your workday. Think about it. How much of your workday is really creating value, and how much is managing stuff? It's necessary to be able to deliver the value, but it's not really adding anything but work. And I think we all have still the higher, like, I think the higher you go, the more you can debate stuff, but I think we have a lot of people doing a lot of so-called like bullshit jobs, which could be automated to a really high degree, if not completely, to then use that brain power, which are like oftentimes also really educated people, to use that brain power in some fields or topic where it's basically creating value. And yeah, that's my high level approach to all of the AI in business stuff, is how can we get people to do less mundane tasks and spend more of their time creating real value.
And when they're
And we need that.
and I think you've said it really nicely, and it just kind of sparked the thought in my mind that you're freeing up them employees to do more work that they deliver value, and that's why they came to your organization in the first place, because they want you to create an impact, they want you to make a statement. And so you're not just basically improving your business, but you're kind of creating happier employees, because they're there to create an impact. And if they're able to do that by doing their best work, and you're freeing them up off of these like mundane reporting tasks, I mean, isn't that a win-win?
Yeah, definitely. And it goes even further. Like, for example, I have one customer, I have to program some stuff, and I have the whole solution in my head. Basically, just need to program it and test it. Yeah, just. I've had the solution. I've had time to think about it, and I have a solution. Now I have to test it, and then I have to think on. And that's like people that like oftentimes you see like videos of people programming and like hacking stuff in, and it's like code flying around and stuff like that. It's not like that. It's mostly like you think about a problem, you have a solution, a possible solution, you have to try it out. You type it in, you have to program the whole fucking solution. and then you go back and say, huh, this didn't work like I expected it to work. And then you think again, which costs you some minutes, and then you then you're back to programming. And that's basically why programming takes so long, because the more complex the solution gets, the more developers you need, because every small thing in and of itself needs to go through this process of thinking, trying. And of course, the more expert and the more experience you have, the quicker you can go through this process, and the more often, like, the first idea might already be the right one. But still, you have to program the stuff. I have to look for my language a bit.
You're really passionate about the topic, I can tell.
I am. But I'm a passionate person, like, in general. But yeah. But what I wanted to say is, like, you have to imagine how much more you would be able to do if what you're thinking about could be processed quicker on the PC, or like could be even thought like alongside you with an AI. But yeah, on a high level, how can we create more value in the same amount of time? It's always like that.
But it's also creative, and I think we maybe touch on this as well, because I think folks may not realize that what you're talking about is already a function of these large language models. You could prompt the system to write a lot of the code for you.
Yeah,
Quality, I
definitely.
mean, there's still, again, human in the loop that's very much required to evaluate the output. But, the other day I was kind of brainstorming some ideas with my team. And I'm, again, very non-technical in nature, so I don't write code. So I needed that technical person on the other side to evaluate. But I was like, hey, let's do a quick proof of concept. Like, could we do this? And we're taking like some complex diagram. And I was like, I wonder if it's going to convert it into like Python code, like that I could just give to one of the developers and we could like develop a solution, or, use it for another use case. And I was like, I wonder if this is going to work, but I need you to like evaluate the code behind. He's like, yeah, I can do that. But you could take, and this is kind of going back to that multimodality, you could upload a diagram, like back of a napkin type of sketch, and say, convert this into logic and then Python code that I could use for my application. But you could also use it to QA your code, or you could even write code based on a specific prompt. You're like, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to achieve this following result, right? The code and everything like that. So what took you multiple iterations of trial and error to figure out, it could save you quite a few hours. And then in writing code, and I think we spoke about it before, that you rely on AI for some of your work as well.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't live without. I had it like some one afternoon. I was sitting in a hospital cafe waiting, and didn't have internet access, and I didn't have AI, and I was basically lost. Not lost, but I had to type out everything myself. Like who does that? Like a caveman.
Oh, it's so funny. No, but if you think, again, going back to the productivity gains, right? So like if you have access to some of these tools, and then let's say you've streamlined or helped save 1 hour of development, and then let's say you have a team of 5. So on a weekly basis, you're saving 5 hours for these developers to do more work, or you could put them to develop other projects or create different types of business value. And so again, think of AI not just like an add-on tool in addition to existing, but it could truly create so much value and so much efficiency, and just by the nature of the work that they do. So code, and we spoke about decision making, data analysis, and all these other things. But I want to even tap into maybe a little bit more on going back to the creative aspects. But what are people doing, or do you know of any use cases for using DALL-E or kind of the visual aspects? So ChatGPT again.
For example, I created the AI Boardroom logo, like at least the first version, because oftentimes if I have to think about a logo, sometimes I have an idea, but oftentimes I don't. And just typing in like, hey, this is what we have. Can you come up with some ideas? It's already really useful. And also I was trying to come up with an elevator pitch for a new company. And I did make 3 elevator pitches and thought, let's see what ChatGPT says. and then I gave him my pitches and said, please, that's what we do. That are my pitches. Please create new versions. Like, do not like work with what I have, but just come up with 3 new versions. And all 3 of them were better than mine. and that's how I use it often. I give it like my general idea and what the context is, and just try to get some ideas from it. And you can do this for your postings. You can do this for your briefings. You can do this for a lot of stuff. So it's not a ready to go solution. It basically never is. But if you have to think, like, if you would have had a human doing it, you would have given him the same context, and he would have come up with an idea, and then you would iterate on that. And that's the same how you would use the AI.
Yeah, and maybe part of the process too, there's probably some user research or asking opinions and things like that, but because it's trained on that knowledge, it kind of streamlines even I apologize, even that aspect of it for you. And then you go back and you iterate on the, whatever it is. whether it's designs or text or versions of text, and you're going to ask more people. So again, it helps to streamline a lot of these tasks that we take sometimes for granted, and just kind of gives you an input, but it's based on data, based on like data that has been trained on. So it doesn't just come up with, a specific direction just because it feels like it, or it thinks, it has an opinion about something personally. Again, everything that AI can do is based on data. So that's something that I want to emphasize. So that's why I think you're finding the quality of its recommendation pretty good.
Yeah, and then it's also like, I think we have to touch risks in that too. So and data and bad data is a risk in that case. So it's like always. I say bad in, bad out. it's not as strong as the original saying, but yeah, that's, if you have bad data, you will get bad results, and that's oftentimes how it goes. Like it was like this before, and it's still like this. And yeah, that's something you have to be aware of. Just having like more intelligent systems does not make, like it can make use of more data which you would have gotten at all back. Like I think in your case it's like that. Yeah, like you used data which was basically useless for 100 years, and now you can capitalize on that. And that's something that is possible, but still you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of tasks that are related to data cleanup and everything like that. So you shouldn't just package your data into some, unstructured to structured way, and then just assume you're, shake your hands, wipe your hands, and then be like, it's ready to go. I think that there's a lot of, again, standard practices that, experts know, data engineers have a good understanding for how to clean up that data, how to look for biases. There are even tools that are built to automate kind of evaluation of your data to make sure you have representative data, so you don't have, again, biased data that's overly representative of specific groups or maybe interests and quite subjective kind of to your organization. So there are things, again, in the process that you could do to help eliminate some of it, and does it have to be perfect? I don't think so. I think there are going to be things, again, edge cases that you're going to uncover, which I think you just have to get comfortable with, considering some of these AI systems and the data it's trained on is like good enough, and it's ready to go, because users will give you input and they will highlight things that are, again, those edge cases. And the reason why I'm emphasizing the word edge case is that you don't want to do what I think Google Tay did when they kind of released their chatbot preemptively without evaluating the data it was trained on. So it started to make sexist and kind of racist comments back to people. So I think that there's, again, some of these automated tools that look for those types of things in data, the output. So you do want to get your solution at least 80% curated against like some of these, big scenarios that so potential issues that you can uncover. But the 20%, leave it up to the users to help solve or help highlight it back to you, so you could solve them in at ad hoc basis. So
yeah, and also what I want to emphasize on that, of course, it's definitely a risk that these systems aren't 100% right all the time. But I want to emphasize that they already bring value even at like 80% or 85% of times when they are correct. So you just have to, oftentimes it's with a human in a loop. I think at some point we will get systems who will evaluate other systems. But yeah, that's where we have to be clear. Being not 100% correct all the time doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. It has a lot of it. So imagine if you have like 95% or 90% of your support requests solved by AI, what would this free up in your company? So that's how you have to think about it.
Yeah, and I think
Also, so sorry, just for all the bias stuff, there are toolings which you can set in front of a request that like find malicious requests in the first place, and also like filter out malicious answers, stuff like that. So
yeah, there's definitely a lot of value I think added to the organizations, and I think there's ways to quantify that. But you evaluate the accuracy, and I think that what you mentioned, it's not going to be 100%, but something is better than nothing, right? So even if it's able to help streamline, 90% of the tasks, but you hear a lot. There's a human in the loop that's required in a lot of what AI currently does, and so it's a value adding technology to the organization, but it's also going to help with change management because AI systems are not perfect. Hey, we still need you. We still need humans in the loop to help guide these solutions. So, and that's how those AI systems get better is by human in the loop feedback. But if they're able to streamline or save 5 hours a week and do that work really well, and the remaining 10% is something that the humans need to evaluate, you're still saving a significant amount of time of your employees, and I think that's value added.
and something really interesting from that is also, and that was something even Sam Altman from OpenAI and the OpenAI team was surprised with, is they thought even at least in coding that it might cost people jobs. But the result is they just do more code, and they even hire more people because now they can do more stuff they couldn't done before because it was not like ROI. There was no ROI on that. So now you can do things at half a cost, and suddenly they are profitable. And that's why. And I wasn't thinking about that possibility either. So for me, it was also like, can I do my job in 5 years from now, or will it be even necessary for me to code anymore, or to hire someone to code? But the result is, you still need the human in the loop, and instead of like firing 90%, you just do 90%, like a lot more than you have done before, and you do stuff that just wasn't cost effective, but now is, and then that's something that got me personally really exciting, because now I don't have to tell my staff we like install AI in our company, in our processes, and we don't need you anymore, but we can install that and say, hey, you can do more with less. How about that?
And I think I'd love to maybe spend an episode even talking about use cases, but what you said there, and something to think about, right? So if you're able to free up development tasks, but let's say by 50%, guess what? You could resurrect some of the old use cases that may have not been, again, as profitable before, or you thought, oh, it's way too much cost to actually do it with real rule-based or traditional ways of doing it. Well, why don't you evaluate it with AI now? So does it make it more lucrative, and is there a better ROI now? So those same people who you freed up from development can help build proof of concepts for you and deliver more value that you thought previously was not possible with AI before. So, something to also think about is, instead of letting go and decreasing those operational costs by letting go employees, could they do more business value adding work? So again, driving that top line business growth by building new solutions, delivering value to your customers in new ways. And so just something to think about. And I thought we need to touch on that before.
Yeah. Maybe we also, after that general business stuff, we might even do an episode for startups. I think could be also interesting to how you, as a startup, can now do business models, or like start at least business models, which you were just like which were just not cost effective, and now with AI might be. So it's definitely a really interesting topic.
Oh, absolutely.
I would love to, after like we have a lot of theory, but from your perspective, what would you actually need what do you actually need to start an AI project in your business?
So I would choose a business function. So if you're asking about like how would I prove the value behind this? So again, with the perspective of can this deliver value? What process in your business can be automated? So for example, if you have someone that drafts a lot of requirements or does a lot of research, could you use AI to help with that, the drafting piece? And again, you could upload examples of these documents and feed it specific information, and then do that in half the time. So I would say, first of all, choose a business function that tends to be quite repetitive in nature. So again, like these tend to be, research based, marketing, maybe brainstorming ideas, drafting requirements, reviewing documents, like for example, legal. They have to look at different agreements, relationship management before they invoice or they speak to their customers or review, marketing material or anything like that. They look at their kind of partnership agreements. So if they're looking for specific questions, if they do that a lot, could you streamline a lot of it? Maybe referencing brand guidelines for design, and they want to make sure that they're kind of abiding by certain principles. So what things in your business, and again, some of it could be core, let's say marketing agency, you're going to look at the core of your business. What do you do a lot of that tends to be repetitive? And I would start there. So maybe it's drafting emails. All you do is like in sales is you draft a lot of emails, copy and you personalize it to make sure it's curated. Yep. Well, could you connect that to a CRM? I think we talked about that before. It's like you probably collect notes post every conversation that you have with your clients. So could you personalize and automate that email drafting on for sales, and then really free up their time to reach more clients and have more live conversations with people. So I would say, again, start with a business function, look at a repetitive process, and then see what either existing systems that you use, like CRM or email, that you could plug this kind of large language model, this generative AI functionality in to help streamline tasks. And then I think an important, again, consideration is not to automate it end to end, but still have a human in the loop, because those AI systems are not yet, I don't want to say 100%, again, as you mentioned, accurate. So before you press send or before you press submit, there's definitely some QA that needs to be done, which is why you need to have people who are really knowledgeable to evaluate that output. And I would start there.
I think if you thank you first of all. I think if you have something like emails, it always depends, right? So all the the amount of control always depends on the possible damage. So in sales, if you have like high ticket sales, how damaging would it be to have like a misinterpreted email, like put the contents in an email and then send a customized offer? What would the damage be if this goes wrong? And like 5% of the times, 1% of the time, whatever. Benchmark this and see, and then decide, is it worth to sit there with a human in a loop, or do I just swallow the pill and have some bad emails?
Yeah, no, I think the risk aspect of it too. And I think it depends, again, on your industry too. So something to think about, I have experience working in healthcare where that's even like a non-negotiable. You can't even have errors like that. So definitely, before you put anything, you can't automate processes end to end. There must be a human in the loop. Where again, where stakes are high, maybe banking, financial industry, highly regulated industries, you definitely want to have some governance structure to evaluate not only the kind of the overall model, but maybe have some checks and balances in place to make sure that whatever is done across the organization kind of meets certain standards. But again, not everyone's like that. And so I think you've mentioned startups or small organizations, like small businesses, may have a lot more flexibility. So I don't want to scare everyone that this is like, you must have all of these things in place, but if you are part of a highly regulated, exactly. Know where you're playing and what the stakes are if you have an oops moment in your business. So make sure you have kind of those checks and balances in place.
Yes. Um, yeah, and if just to maybe plug it here, if you have anything you want to discuss, you don't know really how to solve it. Yeah, Svetlana is already doing active sessions as far as I know.
Hmm.
And like for everyone who needs the German input, it's always free to reach out to me or to one of us, and we're happy to help you and yeah, see how we can build up value in your company using AI. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I always want to hear from you. So if there's anything that you feel we didn't really dive into, or maybe there wasn't sufficient amount of use cases, or you'd like to see more of
yeah,
something, I think people crave examples. So
yeah,
happy to do it. So I think, as you mentioned, maybe just kind of hearing from you. What do you think you want to hear more of? What can we touch on, or what specific topics? Because that's going to give us also some thoughts on how to make sure we provide the most value
yeah,
for you guys listening. So your time is valuable, and we want to make sure we maximize the impact we create with that time. So
yeah, totally. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. I would say we're already an hour in. Like time flies by, right?
oh, it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's a passion. Again,
So
both of us are really excited about this topic. So I think it feels
yeah,
it
yeah. Like
feels
for me, it's like kind of a youth dream come true with all the possibilities that are emerging right now. So I keep talking as long as you keep listening. So
No, this is great stuff. Well, I hope everyone got something out of it. I hope anyone, listening had their aha moment today. And as always, we're looking forward to seeing you guys tuning in next week.
yes, thank you also very much for all your time and listening to us till the end. And yeah, put down the comments, write us an email if you want something else. If you have topics to discuss, we are always looking out for that. And with that said, I wish you all a really good week whenever, or a really good day wherever you hear us or see us. And yeah, the last words as always.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much.
Say bye bye.